Well, welcome back, everyone who is either watching or listening this episode of the Leaders Fuel Daily podcast. I appreciate everyone being here and following along. It's been a lot of fun to do this. So today I'm with Josh Crumley. Josh, I am getting to know you very well, and I'm enjoying that process very much. We are together in a business networking group, and we're also currently going through the Resilient Entrepreneur study together.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you right off the bat how much I've enjoyed getting to know you. You've got such a great, pleasant, and very approachable manner to you. And it really matters. And I know if I'm going to send someone to do business with you, I feel very confident in what's going to happen there. And we'll learn all about that. But I'd really want to hear about your journey. I want to hear about your entrepreneurial journey. One of the things that I share in Leaders Fuel is this idea of the heroic entrepreneur. And that is my way of using what's called the monomyth. There was a guy named Joseph Campbell who spent a lot of time studying all of these myths through history. And what he realized is they all had these commonalities to them and these very critical stages. So if you took one story compared to another story, you would see these similarities. And so I thought, that's like an entrepreneur. That's really the journey. And just very quickly, it's the idea that you start at the status quo and then you go through these stages and you end back there. But you're basically starting in the ordinary world and then you go into the special world. And in the special world, you have some kind of a quest and you basically conquer something and then you come back with treasure to give away and you're not the same person. So anyway, that's just a setup to ask you, just tell about your journey. How in the world, we're going to hear all about what you actually do in a bit, but let's back up and just talk about your heroic entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Wow. I think for any entrepreneur it goes way back for me. It goes all the way back to childhood. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, owned many different businesses from restaurants to custodial supply, uh, you know, um, just all kinds of different things. And so, I kind of grew up to where, hey, if you want money to go out and buy stuff and do stuff with your friends, well, you need to go earn it. And I wasn't necessarily built for the 9 to 5, sitting in an office or at a desk. And so, if it was anything when I was a kid, I was, at elementary school, I'd go to the five and dime store, buy candy, then upsell it to friends. I'd have a lawn service business. Anything and everything that I could do to make money, was kind of what I was going to do. Then, I went through school and went to college, graduated, came out, in the mindset, hey, you graduate, got to slide into a job.
Yeah.
And kind of going back, I just wasn't a good fit for that, but I stuck with it.
Yeah.
Trying to work myself through to see what was there. 2008, 9, 10, during that recession period. And, I bought my house during it's probably the worst time, 2008. A month later, I actually lost my job. Lost it, got another job, was there for about 3 or 4 months, lost it again. And I just realized, man, I mean, the one thing is that, these folks, these companies were kind of, had my destiny in their hands. Anytime that their books were a little bit shaken, me
You
and
were could
several.
be on the chopping block.
Absolutely, every single
Yeah.
time. And so I just remembered, man, like I've got to figure something out. So in my head, I'm always just trying to find something to do. How can I break free, um, of just having, my whole life, rely on these folks.
Yes.
Um, I kind of got to the point, I got married, again, slid back into a 9 to 5, provided me a comfortable income while I was
Yes.
married, had a kid, my son Evan, and at about 6 months, he was about 6 months old. I got a really good job, bought a new house, with the new house, double the mortgage, um, and then boom, you know, they outsourced my job, to Germany. I've got a bigger house with a bigger mortgage. Um, not a few years married, not very many years,
Yeah.
so I had a whole lot of pressure. And now here I am. I've been in my current position, kind of working for myself for the last 5 years. And,
Yes.
I just realized that every single one of those failures, learning experience and led to something.
Yes.
And it's been very good for me. So.
So it sounds like from early on, you at least understood the value of a dollar, meaning a dollar earned, and not just the idea
Yep,
that someone needed to give you something in order for you to be able to be taken care of.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And better yet, save those dollars.
Okay. So that was a part of it for you. Like you sort of understood that at least bit of economy that you shouldn't just because I love that idea of you that enterprising part of being an entrepreneur is that, hey, I'm going to go to the Five and Dime and buy candy and then I'm going to upsell it to my friends. That's that's the enterprising bit. But then when you get the money, is
There
that
you go.
did you have that idea like save some of this money whenever you got it as a kid even?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is that I knew that I needed. If I wanted to do something, I had to have it. I didn't want to
Yes.
always go out there and have to hustle every time I wanted something. So if I had the money, I know that one, I didn't have to borrow from my parents. That
Hmm.
wasn't one thing that I wanted to do.
Yes.
And then to go out and find sort of business to do. It wasn't, hey, you make it, then you go blow it. It's,
Yeah.
hey, I want to keep this, and then when I really want something, I got it. Car,
Yeah.
whatever it was. So
Yeah, so you got to see what it was like to want something, go work and earn your own money for it, and then be able that sort of level of satisfaction of I paid for this.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I owe nobody anything,
Yes.
and it's mine.
Yes. Yes. That is wonderful. I love that. And then so then you had sort of this macro recession, I suppose, with 2008. I wondered when you were talking about the 2008, I'm thinking, I bet people that are listening to this, there's people going, yep, yep. A lot of people
Yeah, it
had
was
that's a common story for many people. And then you had more of like a micro recession because your job got outsourced. And so you had to tap into some resourcefulness. And so, I mean, that's kind of, part of this entrepreneur's journey is there's a call. And
mhm.
that call, and it's the idea of the call is it's your call to adventure. It's saying, and for you sounds like you had this inner thing always going. I really want to do my own thing. I don't want to rely upon someone else and sort of be at their beck and call or be at the whims of their conditions and circumstances that could put me on the chopping block. You wanted to be able to build your own security, maybe. Am I understanding that right?
Absolutely. We always rely on others, right? I
Hmm.
mean, in some form or fashion, there's nobody in the world that says I've done everything by myself. That word self-made is kind of used very loosely. There's a lot of people that have helped me. There's support from family, there's support from friends.
Hmm.
I mean, my clients, if I didn't have any of those, where would I be? So,
100%.
it's one of those things to where it completely builds up, but learning from the situations that you've been in, and then taking those failures and using them in your favor,
Yeah.
to create whatever it is you're trying to create. People, that's the one thing, is that people fail and then they give up so quickly, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
um
And
everybody fails though.
and sometimes if you're working for someone else and the buck doesn't really stop with you, it's kind of easier to give up. There's a lot of situations where, if there's not the right level of accountability and also the right level of empowerment, I might get away with sort of a failure cycle. Uh, but
Yeah,
when it's all for you and there's other people counting on you. So I have a couple of questions for you. So
sure.
I understand that you had some circumstances that really kind of pushed you. using this analogy, out of the ordinary world and into the special world. But you also had to choose at that time. You had to make the choice to say, I'm not going back to work for someone else. I'm going to go work for me,
Yep.
and I'm going to bank on me. I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm going to invest in me and my
Yep.
family. And so what, can you think of, like, what were you putting on the line at that moment of decision? What was it that you were putting on the line to make that choice?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, you know, the it was basically my family and how we were going to live from that point on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went to college. I can slide into another, 9 to 5 job, making whatever, knowing that it's there, and there's some comfort of that. But man, like I said, I had purchased a bigger home. My family had grown. That's something that's kind of was the next step. I had just done that. My son. I think when you have kids, right? Like there's certain levels of responsibility. Like when you're single, you're like, yeah, I'm out here. When you get married, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, all right, but now then you have kids, right? And that right there kind of takes it to that next level. And you realize, man, I want them to have the absolute best life. And that's what I did. I knew I wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to make it what I was doing. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not these kind of guys,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I have a better and a different skill than what they do to make,
Yeah, for sure.
whatever it is I want to make. And I don't want to have, work and work and work, and be limited with my income. Even now and try to create next. So if they took this away, I would slide right into this. Right. And then, where's
Mm-hmm.
the next? And so I just can never picture myself ever again, going back to the life of, the 9 to 5 cubicle lifestyle. I mean, some people are built for it. I'm just not.
So you're saying that you've got this commitment now to this, and you talked about this idea of taking the challenges and using them for your good. And I love to think of that, this whole Aikido blending with life. So I practice Nihon Goshin Aikido, and the whole idea of Aikido is like you use the force of your opponent to your own advantage, and you
Yeah.
turn it around. If you kind of think of like the yin and the yang symbol and the way that that looks, that's a good sort of word picture for me of blending with life, and that,
Yeah.
so I said all that to say, at this point, you're all in. If by chance, whatever you're doing now, some external force somehow yanked that rug out, you're going to go find the next thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's not
And you
going to,
gain that. Yeah. You gain that with confidence, right? Like,
yeah.
that's the big thing is that, I mean, same thing for you, Rick. You would probably like, hey, if this didn't work, you have the confidence because this has worked to where you can go and do something else. You have kind of I guess the outline to
Hmm.
move that over, maybe try it somewhere else, which before, you were just trying to figure things out along the way.
Yeah. Hey, say that last sentence again, because you cut out just a little bit. So you talked about the confidence improvement. So say that last bit that you just said one more time.
Yeah, it's basically you've just kind of, up to this point, with your first venture, you've kind of figured everything out just as you go, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But you've created, this game plan now. This little recipe for success, and that gives you confidence to where, hey,
Yes.
if this stops, man, all right, I can move over here. It's just figuring out, what you want to do, right? And then taking
Hmm.
that game plan that you have and running with that. So.
For sure. So, okay, again, going back to this analogy of the heroic entrepreneur and going into the special world. So talk about, like, what's something about yourself that is not the same as you were maybe like 15 years ago? What's something now that being an entrepreneur has shown you about yourself that you're aware of?
Wow. I guess the ability to succeed.
Hmm.
I was always, still am, my worst enemy. I would
Yes.
discourage myself. I taught myself out of something bore I even would get started.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing. So that self growth, um, and just trying to remain positive. Even when I got into this job, first thing is, man, boom, you're going to fail. This is going to go horribly for you. And even though things have been going great, one little blurb, and you're just ready to kind of move forward. But God, me 15 years ago compared to me 15 now, is there's confidence there. There's a bit of relief, as far as just feeling like I can do so much more. I'm so much more, just confidence in myself, and I don't let myself, you know, talk me out of doing things that I want to do anymore. I just do it and see how it goes.
And so let me just go circle back and say, do you believe that there is a direct correlation that what's developed in you to having been an entrepreneur versus having worked for someone else?
Absolutely,
Yeah. So
absolutely. I mean, you count on you, and that is it. And that's empowering. I mean, that's awesome. The only person that can succeed is you. The only person that can fail is you. There's
yeah,
nobody else to blame it on. There's nobody else to worry about. It's you. So
yeah. And I think even people, when you're working with teams of people, that still applies. And okay, so a couple more questions. One is for yourself. How do you know? This is what this. I'm going to tell you why I'm asking you this question,
sure.
because of what you just said. One of the things about the heroic entrepreneur is the idea of trials, and really it's when you think about the ordinary world versus the special world, you could say that the ordinary world is your comfort zone. And I think when anyone who goes on any kind of journey of personal development understands, at least at some point, it occurs to them, I do not grow inside of my comfort zone. I grow when I get out here and get stressed when there's trials, and there's this zone of growth that's somewhere outside of me being too comfortable. So for you, what indicators might you have that would tell you, you know what, I feel like I might be getting a little too comfortable? Because I think that the advantage that the entrepreneur has by and large is that life as an entrepreneur pushes you outside your comfort zone a lot of times, whether
Yeah.
you would choose to be there or not. But the question is, I think, how do you know when you're being too comfortable?
I sleep too well.
Okay.
That's that's the problem.
Yes.
It there's a level, and there is a level of anxiety, with being an entrepreneur. It's there, and it's
Hmm.
there all the time. But it's either you know how to use that in a positive manner, or you
Yeah.
let it eat you alive, right? So
Hmm.
for me, it's been trying to use it in a positive manner. But I do know that I don't go on a lot of vacations. You know, I work, but when I'm on vacation, I know that, hey, it's time to end this vacation and get back to work. When I just, I get too
Yeah.
relaxed and I sleep really too well. But that's the one thing. I'm constantly. I don't think I'm ever truly comfortable. I don't think I ever will be. But that's what gives our edge, right? That's why we do what we do, and we're good at it, or at least try to be the best we can be at it. Is because we always feel like, hey, this is gonna get ripped away from us, and knowing that somebody's working harder than you to maybe take that away from you is one of those things where it always just kind of keeps me going. It keeps me moving forward.
Yeah. So there's a healthy level of that, I think, is what you're saying is there's a way
Yeah.
to be healthy. I think, people, the comment I'll make on that is that people talk about balance a lot. They love to use the word
Mhm.
balance, but I don't really think balance is an appropriate word, because if everything was in balance, we wouldn't move, because the moment we
Yeah,
moved, then it would be out of
absolutely.
balance. So to just try to achieve balance in life isn't exactly the way, but I think it's more about harmony, meaning everything's not going to be 50-50. And the idea is, the beauty of being an entrepreneur, if you work for someone else, then yeah, you go on vacation and you just leave it all behind. That's okay. I mean, but when you work for yourself, you don't necessarily have the luxury of leaving it all behind, but you get to actually play while you work. So you're not
Yeah.
you can be there and you can manage just the small things and yet still be enjoying the flexibility of being with your family and doing things with
Absolutely.
your family. So it sounds like, I could see how someone listening to that would be like, well, that doesn't sound very fun. That doesn't sound very healthy. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's really kind of in when you take the full accounting of it, we actually come out much more on the better end. And of course, we could slice that up financially and say, from a tax standpoint, you could have been writing some of those things off. Perhaps I'm sure there's people that have figured out how to do that. Um,
Absolutely.
Nevertheless, I do appreciate that. So I have one more question, and then I really want to know more about
Sure.
what your company and what you do. But my question is, tell me, like, I asked you kind of about how you are different versus this sort of pre entrepreneurial journey. But tell me, how does your family benefit from who you are right now?
Yeah, I think that when I come home, it it's gotten to the point to where, like, at this point, in from where I started to where I began, is, I'm able to shut it off, for several hours. The big thing is I want to see, I want to have my wife and my kids be proud of me. Everything that I do is for them. It's not for me. I
Sure.
want to give them a great life. I want, show my kids what it's like to work really hard, to be able to create things. Bring them into the office with me if I have to go in on a weekend, just kind of, just to see what I do,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they don't understand it, but they know, hey, dad works and this is what dad does. And um but they, and it kind of goes back, Rick, to where, vacation, right? Like, this whole COVID thing, the one thing that came from it is that we can do our job. We've learned that a lot of us can do our job from anywhere, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Hmm.
we took a longer vacation than we normally did this past year.
Hmm.
And that was great. Now, we're able to be together, go somewhere, but I can still, do my thing and work.
Yeah.
But, we're on vacation, right? And you kind of brought that to the forefront there with your comment previously. Is, they're seeing, hey, dad can have fun and get out, and we can go places, and he can work, and, we're not stuck at home. He's not stuck in an office. So it's, I'm with that, I'm in a better mood, and that's, that's better too. So, but I think I'm a lot happier
Hmm.
when everything is on me. Be quite honest. Some people, that stresses, and it's stressful, but I'm not sitting in a cubicle, man. I was miserable in that life, and they
Yeah.
they saw every part of that. It was,
Yeah.
now I'm happy. I feel better. I'm healthier.
Hmm.
Um, there's a whole lot of good things to that.
It's a lot of freedom in what you're doing. So, what one any sort of parting advice that you would give for anyone who's maybe there's someone. Let's make this specific. Someone who's out there and they're considering now. I want to be clear about what I'm about to say. I would never tell someone just to up and leave your job just to be an entrepreneur. And there's more than one way to make that transition. I'm not suggesting that the only way to do it is through a crisis or the only
Yeah.
way to do it is through a leap. I think there's a lot of wisdom, people sort of tapering off of working for someone else and tapering into working more for themselves. But uh, I'm just speaking to that person who is just all they're doing is hesitating. Like, in other words, all things are pretty equal. They could do it. What advice would you give that person that's just hesitating and they know they are?
Well, can I guess, could you sit right where you are today, doing what you're doing right now, and be fine with that? If the answer is no, then there's your decision right there. If you can't, you have
Nice.
one life, right? And it is short.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't sit here and look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm good with right where I'm at, if this thing doesn't work out, I'm just gonna stay here in this job, and
Mm-hmm.
not worry about what I got going on here. If you're perfectly fine with that, then stay. You kind of, you're not ready for that anyways. But if you're like, man, this would be miserable to continue to do this the rest of my life, there you go. Move forward. Because there's only one direction. There's forward. in life.
Yeah,
There's no going back.
for
So
sure.
you have to make that decision and be good with it. You can taper it off, like you mentioned,
Yes.
but you got to be, 2 feet in. You can't have one in, one out, and I don't know what I don't know, and then because it's never going to be perfect. It's
Yeah,
not.
I love that. Jump right in. Okay. Um, let's do this. I really, man, thank you for sharing. Let me just say that. I really appreciate that you shared what you
Having
did,
me.
and I could see where we need to have a lot more conversations and keep it going because and every time I hear about someone's story, it really the whole point of me doing this is entrepreneurial empowerment. That's why I even want to do this. I want to help, I want to add value to people and bring other people along and but the point of all the that leaders feel daily is entrepreneurial empowerment. And have I have benefited from hearing your story. So thank you very much for that.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And now what I need to know is what do you do? So now you're in this other business. Exactly what is that and what do people need to know about what you do?
Absolutely. So I am in the wonderful world of insurance. I'm in a world where nobody likes to talk with it. It's hard to understand, but everybody kind of needs some. I do specifically health insurance, life insurance, supplemental insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Dental, vision, cancer plans, things like that. Um, group plans for small businesses, and Medicare for the 65 and older. And all
Okay.
those things can be very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and time, it's consistently moving. So I try to take all of that and really just sit down with you, find out what's going to be best for you, fit your person, but your budget
Mm-hmm.
as well. Make sure that you can afford it. But I work for a company called, HealthMarkets. I'm an agent under a name called HealthMarkets Insurance Agency.
Okay.
Our office is on 409 Mills Avenue in Greenville, South Carolina. But I'm licensed here in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. And the way that it works is you're building your own business under the name and under the company of Health Markets and you're
yeah, absolutely. It's kind of similar to how you work under a certain name,
mm-hmm.
but I started without any clients. I had to build that up and grow it. All we really do is we do get I do have an office, which is great, and but yeah, it's a little bit different. There's no salaries there. There's nothing like that. It's building it yourself, and I love that.
Yeah.
Building something that's my own.
I don't mean this in a negative way, but I've heard people describe that as you eat what you kill, meaning that no one's out there building your business for you. You're out there building it. And I understand and I hear from you you're an advocate for people when it comes to the kind of insurance that uh, is something that is a normal part of life. It's there when you need it, and when you need it, you do not want to be without it. And also there is some complexity to it, and a wise person has someone that they can trust like you who is in their corner making sure that
Absolutely.
you're getting taken care of when it comes to any of those eventualities of health, dental, vision, any of that stuff. And um, so
You hit the
and
nail on the head. I'm an advocate. That's the biggest thing. I'm just here. It's all for you. I'm just here to help you understand it, help you find something. And
mhm,
then if you have problems, you have somebody to reach out to instead of a 1-800 number trying to figure things out yourself. Like that's the most frustrating thing.
mhm.
So, yep, I'm just here to help.
Well, and I think that what's great about this is that there will very likely be people listening to this who they are working for themselves and meaning that no one else is providing that coverage for them as a part of some kind of a benefit package that they have to provide it for themselves and perhaps are even providing it for other people. So um, I would I have, like I said at the beginning, I have no hesitation whatsoever of sending someone your way, and I
Thank you.
certainly, hope and pray that this would, help you connect with someone who absolutely is needing it and could continue to do that. So, thank you very much for being a part of this, and I just want people to know before we say goodbye that uh, there's going to be some more information about you and ways to get a hold of you anywhere that this is broadcast or published. So that we're not saying it in this moment, but it'll be there. So um,
Wonderful. Thanks for having me, Rick.
uh, all right, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.